So we do have these endpoints that allow you to retrieve all our widgets or an individual widget. What I'd like to be able to do now is be able to read this from our client, right? Our React using Redux to make a to go retrieve all this information from the client. Okay, so let's take a look at that. Let's open up the project that we have for React. It would be webdev client React. There we go. Okay, and we had started by taking a look at the implementation of a container, right? We have a container that maps the properties that a widget list component is using or is expecting for for rendering a list of widgets. Yes, this was iterating over a list of widgets that was provided by some reducer, right? If we go back to the reducer. Let's see. Let's review what we have so far. We have the reducer here, and the reducer. Here we have the widget list reducer, which was had a static list of widgets over here, and it was updating list of widgets, or deleting list elements of widgets, and then generating the new state, which was then used for rendering on the client through a container that mapped the widgets from the state into a property called widgets, and then the component rendered them. Yes? All right, so what we'd like to be able to do is to instead of the reducer using the static array, yes, what we'd like to be able to do is go fetch them from a server. All right? So let's do that. Let's play around with that. Okay, so one of the things that we'll probably need to do is to be notified of when this component wants to render. Right, that would be a good time, a good time to go and fetch the data from the server. Right, so we'd like to be able to be notified. Hey, this component needs data. Go fetch the data. Go fetch me all the widgets so that I can render them. So to do that, we're going to have to convert this component into a class component, right, as opposed to a functional component, right? The only reason we're doing it, not because we need any state or we're not going to maintain our own state or anything like that. The state is still going to be managed by Redux, yes, but we just want to be notified of when this is loading, and we can't, if we have a functional component, because we don't have a constructor, we don't have any of the lifecycle functions, right? So we're going to reconvert this into a class component. Okay, so I'm going to rewrite this. Well, first of all, let's make sure that this is actually working and I'm not breaking anything. Let's head over to that directory, and let's go into webdev 19 React. Let's run it. So we'll do npm start. Npm start should bring up our current implementation. And there it is. So this is presumably the list of widgets, right, that we worked on last time we met, right? So we have these widgets. So we have a paragraph. Let's see if they are what we would expect. Let's look at the reducer. Indeed, we have a list, a heading, and a paragraph. This is our list. This is our heading, right? And this is our paragraph. Yes? So it looks like it's working. Looks like it's working. We might need to tweak the data model here, yes, because in the database we only have ID and we have title. That's all we have, right? We don't have text, we don't have type, we don't have any of that. We don't have ordered, we don't have any of this, yes. So we might need to go back to the to a database, right, to Java, right, and add all those fields, right? But for now, let's see if we can we can at least fetch something from the server from our React client, okay? All right, so let's do that. Let's go back to our component. Here's our component. And so yeah, so let's change this to a class. And so since it's a class, this would be what? This would be a extends React.component, right? And now it's a full-fledged class. It's going to have a constructor, right, with props. And it's going to have a super with the props. Yes? And what else? And it's going to have a render function, right? Render with a return of what? A return of this entire div. So I'm going to copy that. I'm going to paste it in here. There it is. And these properties here, we need widgets, add widget, and delete widget. Yes? And they are being referenced where? And notice that the IDE points them out to us. This add widget is from a property, right? So this would be this dot props dot add widget, and this would be this dot props dot widgets, and this would be this dot props dot delete widget. I think that's it. All right, I think we have successfully converted this into a class component. Yes? All right, so let's go back and see if this still works. I'm refreshing. Looks like it still works, right? So functionally, we haven't done anything, right? We haven't done anything. But we do want, the only reason why we make the change is because I want to be notified when this component has been loaded, right? It's about to render, right? And it doesn't have any data. I need to go fetch some data, okay? So let's do that. We're going to implement here one of many different lifecycle methods that React invokes at different stages of the life cycle of the component, right? In our case, we're going to use a component did mount. All right, did mount says, hey, you're ready to render. What do you want to do? You know, here's a place where you could perhaps change the state. Go fetch some state information, update it, and that's what will render. Make sense? Right? So what we're going to do is that the only way for us to talk to the outside world is through the properties, right? Without breaking the Redux mechanism. Yes, you know, all the communication has to be done through Redux and whatnot. So we're going to use the properties. So this dot props dot find all widgets. Maybe we are notifying the reducer. Hey, reducer, I need data, right? I need widgets. Go find them all, right? So who handles this? It will be handled by our container. Our container needs to provide the mappings of all those functions, right? Find all widgets, right? Will be invoked right here, right? And for now, we're just going to do console.log find all widgets, just to verify that that function is indeed being invoked. Right? If we do a inspect and move it to the right-hand side, right? Look at the console, and there it is. Notice the find all widgets being printed by the container. Yes? So that function is being invoked. If I refresh, there it is. You find all widgets is being printed by the container. So we are notifying the dispatcher, right? At least that mapper that we just invoked that function. Yes? So it's a good time. This is a good time to go fetch the data. Let's go fetch the data. We could do fetch. We could do fetch, and fetch what? Where is it? It's localhost what? 8080 /API./widgets. Oops. Did I stop the server? I must have stopped the server. Windows server. Okay, it wasn't running. Let me run the server. Okay, the server's running, and the URL would be widgets. Okay, that's working. Let's copy that, and let's go back to our React. Right, and so we can do fetch, and that's the URL. That's the URL. Right, this is exactly the same thing we were doing in jQuery way back at the beginning of the semester, right? Remember that? We were using fetch, the URL, but now, instead of going out to a URL that I was providing, a server that I was providing, now you're going to your own server, right, that you are creating. You are creating these RESTful services, going out to a database and retrieving the data. Right, so this is going to be the response, which we're going to parse, and then print out the widgets. Okay, make sense? Right, and this is almost going to work. Let's take a look at the React over here and refresh. Okay, notice that it almost works. Notice that it went out. It tried to go out. Look at that. It tried to make the request. If we look at the network, notice that it went out. It went out to go fetch them. Yes? Right? It went out. It generated the get. See that? It generated the get. But in the console, we get an error. It says access is denied. Right? It's denied. It says, wait a minute. You're trying to access localhost 8080, that's one domain, from a different domain, localhost 3000. Those are two different domains. Right? It's complaining and saying that's a security breach. Right? You can't do that. You can't have a a JavaScript downloaded from one domain trying to talk to a network to another server from where it wasn't downloaded. Right? That's a clear security breach. It says it was blocked by the course policy. Course is a CrossOrigin request sharing. Make sure. Course. Resource sharing. Yes, CrossOrigin resource sharing. And now this is way at the beginning of when the browsers were coming out and it was a new idea. Everybody was balking at the idea. I said, wait a minute, you're asking me to download some JavaScript executable and executing in my local machine? Are you crazy? And so a lot of these security measures were put in place early on to give folks the some sense of security that, yeah, wait a minute, no, yes, we are downloading executable, but it's only going to execute inside of your browsers. We're not going to allow it to go to your file system. We're not going to allow it to do network access anywhere it wants to. So it's running inside of a corral. It's a nice walled garden, right? But since then, today has become very, very common that there's all sorts of data sources out there in the web, and we would like to be able to have JavaScript downloaded from one place to be able to fetch data from Best Buy and Barnes and Noble. Are they still around? Yeah. Or Amazon, or go fetch from all these different places. It's very common today. Yes. So the new policies are in place for you to be able to turn on and off and be selective. What is it that you want to be able to allow to do, right? So we're going to go back to our API and turn on course, right, to allow this to happen. Let's go back to our Java side. Let's go back to our Java server and our API. Here's our API. We're going to annotate it. We're going to annotate it with CrossOrigin. We're going to be able to turn on and configure how do we want to handle the security. Right? We're going to say that you should allow queries from these specific domains. You can say allow the following origins. We can say allow localhost 3000. Copy. Let's paste that. Right. So this is deliberately telling that we are okay from receiving requests from this unknown or from this friendly URL, right? And we're going to let it go through. Right? So let's restart the server. Okay, and let's go back to our React here, and let's clear this and let's refresh. And we still have the access. What? Localhost 8000, blah, 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 blah. Origin header is requested. Set the request mode to no course. This should have worked. Let me maybe if I can recompile here. Let's go back up down to webdev, and let's do a Maven clean install maybe. I did save, did I? The controller. Save. Okay, I'm going to stop the server. I'm going to run it from here. Java jar target. Let's run that. Okay, it's listening at 8080, and this is still working. Refresh, and I still have access denied. Local hosts 3000. Am I spelling something wrong? Header is present. Yada yada yada. Is opaque response network. Widgets 403. Localhost origin course. Let me try something else. We have allow credentials, allow headers, allow expose. Can I turn everything on maybe? Everything. Allow everything from everywhere. Wide open. Let's try it again. Let's run it again. Let's see. Console. Okay, we don't get the access denied anymore. Excellent. And we can see, there it is. We printed out the widgets. We're printing it out to the console. See that? Yes. Port, you mean from your client? Well, no, they're going to be using your client, right? So they won't be using their client. It will always be your client. So if it works for you, it should work for them. Okay. All right, excellent. So you see that it's retrieving it, ID, title, whatnot. Let's make changes because a little bit of changes since we are expecting some additional fields in there. We're expecting, for instance, in the reducer, we're expecting type. We're using ordered, size, text. We don't have any of that, right? So let's go back and update our data model in our Java side. Okay, let's do that next.